Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we have a highly charged topic to dive into. The economic freedom fighters, EFF, is facing a serious legal battle after civil rights organization AfriForum filed a hefty R15 million lawsuit against the party. This lawsuit claims that the EFF has been inciting illegal land occupations and spreading racially divisive rhetoric that has caused both emotional and financial harm to property owners in South Africa. This move comes after a series of legal defeats for the EFF in land occupation cases, and it has set the stage for what could be a game-changing development in the political landscape. Now, for those who might not be familiar, AfriForum is a well-known civil rights organization that advocates for the protection of minority rights in South Africa. The organization has been particularly vocal in opposing the EFF's stance on land reform, arguing that their calls for illegal land occupations undermine the rule of law and social stability. The R15 million lawsuit is a direct response to the EFF's perceived incitement of unlawful actions and inflammatory rhetoric surrounding land redistribution, an issue that remains one of the most divisive topics in South African politics. The lawsuit, filed by AfriForum, seeks to hold the EFF accountable for its actions and prevent further harm to property owners. According to AfriForum, the party's rhetoric and support for illegal land invasions have contributed to significant economic distress, especially among farmers and landowners. In fact, this is not the first time the EFF has faced legal challenges over land occupations. Back in 2017, AfriForum won an interdict that prohibited Julius Malema, the EFF's leader, and the party from encouraging illegal land invasions. Despite this ruling, the EFF has continued to push its agenda for land reform, often using very strong and combative language, which has raised alarms among many of its critics. The legal battle has escalated over time, with multiple court defeats for the EFF. These include dismissals from the High Court, the Supreme Court of Appeal, and the Constitutional Court. Each of these courts upheld the view that inciting land occupations is illegal and has ordered the EFF to cover AfriForum's legal costs. But even with these defeats, the EFF's leadership remains steadfast in its mission for land redistribution, viewing their actions as a continuation of the fight for justice and reparations for the injustices of apartheid. So, what exactly are the consequences of this lawsuit for both AfriForum and the EFF? On one hand, AfriForum's Ernst Wenzel has emphasized that this lawsuit is about more than just seeking financial compensation. It's about sending a clear message that inciting unlawful actions will not be tolerated. Wenzel has pointed out that the EFF's inflammatory rhetoric has created deep divisions within South African society and has undermined social cohesion, particularly between different racial and economic groups. He argues that the EFF's actions have created an environment of fear and uncertainty, where the rule of law is being disregarded in favor of political expediency. On the other hand, the EFF has responded to the lawsuit by dismissing it as politically motivated, claiming that it is simply an attempt to silence their calls for land reform and economic justice. According to the party, their message about land redistribution is rooted in the need to correct the historical wrongs of apartheid and provide justice for marginalized communities. The EFF's leadership argues that their calls for land occupation are directed at the government, not individual property owners, and that the focus should be on creating a fairer society where Black South Africans have access to land and resources that were once denied to them. What makes this case even more significant is the broader political context surrounding land reform in South Africa. Land redistribution remains one of the most contentious issues in the country, with deep divisions between those who believe that the land should be returned to Black South Africans, and those who fear that such a move could destabilize the economy. The EFF's radical stance on land reform has often put them at odds with more moderate political parties like the African National Congress, ANC, as well as with business and agricultural groups who warn against the potential economic consequences of expropriation without compensation. In fact, the EFF's aggressive stance on land reform has drawn both strong support and vocal opposition. For some, especially in rural communities and among young people, the EFF's unwavering commitment to land redistribution resonates deeply. They see the party as a champion of social justice, fighting for a more equitable society where land and wealth are no longer concentrated in the hands of a few. The EFF's message speaks to those who feel left behind by the slow pace of transformation since the end of apartheid and who are frustrated with the government's inability to deliver on promises of land redistribution. However, critics of the EFF's approach argue that their rhetoric is too extreme and risks destabilizing the country. They contend that land reform should be pursued through legal and constitutional means, rather than through incitement to illegal occupations. The fear among critics is that unchecked land invasions could result in violence, economic collapse, and the displacement of property owners, many of whom have invested significant resources in the land over the years. At the heart of this issue is the question of how to achieve meaningful land reform in South Africa, while balancing the need for economic stability and social cohesion. The EFF's approach is certainly bold, but it is also highly controversial. The outcome of this legal battle could have far-reaching implications for the political landscape in South Africa, especially when it comes to defining the limits of political speech and the responsibilities of political parties in the country. As we look ahead, the stakes in this case couldn't be higher. A decision in favor of AfriForum could set a precedent for limiting the scope of political rhetoric on land reform, while a ruling in favor of the EFF could embolden other political groups to pursue more radical policies in the name of justice. Either way, this legal battle is far from over, and it is likely to shape the future of land reform and political discourse in South Africa for years to come. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this ongoing legal battle. What do you think about the EFF's stance on land reform? Do you believe that AfriForum's lawsuit is justified, or is it an attempt to silence political opposition? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more updates on this and other critical political developments in South Africa. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.